Overtime School of Wrestling, Training Design by Coach Shannon as a part of the Coaches Education Seminars from the Overtime School of Wrestling in Naperville, Illinois, USA. Contents of this slideshow will encompass and describe the overtime satellites, preseason, postseason, periodization, warm-ups, competition, and camps. Overtime satellites. Overtime satellite training centers are partnerships with local educational institutions to further the mission of the Overtime School of Wrestling. The first overtime satellite will be at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois at the Chicago Regional Training Center. Preseason training. Typically, the preseason lasts about 8 weeks in duration and meets 2 to 3 times per week depending on the location. Each practice at all of the training centers will be at least 1.5 hours. I'm going to kind of describe this slide a little more in detail as we go through all of the slides here because there's a postseason training that has similar information on here. Preseason curriculum. Now here we show the basic skills that we feel that are the essential skills that you must master, all of our students must master in order to have success at the highest level, at the cadet level and the junior level, and of course in the high school postseason and high school seasons. Periodized preseason intensities. This is the crux of why we are enforcing and trying to describe why we believe periodization of training is essential. If you take a look at the bottom, it describes weeks 1 through 8, and if you go from left to right, you can see how the ropes and the live wrestling in minutes increase and decrease. The reason why they actually increase per week is to build fitness, and the reason why they decrease, if you take a look at week 4 and compare it to week 1, it's only a half a rope more, or if you look at the live wrestling, it's only 1 minute more. And the reason behind that is so that we can build in the recovery. Essentially what happens is over that 3 or 4 week span, a super compensation occurs because of the varied training intensities. In other words, we're building in a variation so that the athletes actually can recover. If we do that over the course of 8 weeks, and later on you'll see we'll do it over the course of 13 through 16 weeks, this is where the athletes actually super compensate, and typically you want to have your competitions when the athletes are super compensating. What happens a lot of times in an error for most coaches is they will not have any type of recovery at all, and they'll continue to build and build and build and build. Fitness actually will go up to a certain point, and then there's actually a point of no return where they actually decrease their fitness and their body actually starts to break down. Postseason training, typically this is 13 to 16 weeks. Again, it depends on the location. We're going to meet 2 to 3 times per week. The practice times, again, are going to be 1.5 hours in duration. And this is where we actually do have the athletes sign in at each practice, and there are a bunch of different reasons why. One is to keep the athletes accountable, and the other is to keep overtime accountable, and the third reason might be because a lot of parents actually do try to follow up with their athletes and see if they're coming to classes or not. This happens in college and it also happens in high school. In that time range, because of that maturity level and sometimes that age group, sometimes the athletes may or may not come to class, and we want to make certain that we keep a log of that. At the beginning of each practice, this is when we go over the goals of the practice, and we'll answer any questions that the athletes have regarding upcoming training and or the competitions. Later on, you'll see a slide that'll basically describe how the practices are basically 90 minutes long, and they're split into 3 different segments. Right now, I'm just going to say every 30 minutes is going to be, one 30-minute segment will be drills. The next 30-minute segment will be technique, and the final 30-minute segment will be live wrestling. All of this, of course, is periodized to maximize high-performance training. Postseason curriculum. On one of the earlier slides, we only had basic skills for folk style. The Overtime School of Wrestling is rolling out Overtime satellite programs, which means now we will have a folk style program, a freestyle program, and a Greco-Roman program. Again, all of the skills that we have listed there are the basic skills we feel are needed for each sport to have high performance at the highest level. We feel like if we can teach this to our students and they can master these skills and they can apply these skills in competition, they will be well on their way to achieving high performance. Periodized postseason intensities. Now this slide is almost exactly similar to the preseason intensities, periodized preseason intensities, except that it's a longer duration. So this time we're going from week 1 through week 16. Of course, all of these intensities can actually change depending on what competition you're actually peaking for. If you take a look at the ropes and the wrestling in minutes again, you'll notice how week 1, week 2, week 3, it increases, and in week 4, it decreases. Again, the periodization of the intensities essentially means that we're trying to get a super compensation on that 4th week or the beginning of the 1st week of the next mesocycle. If you take a look all the way down, you'll notice that at about week 7 is when it crescendos and it doesn't actually get any higher, and then we actually start to kind of taper and go backwards in terms of the volume, so that we're not, making the athletes too tired. On the wrestling portion of it, though, that again, it always is going to depend on the tournaments that you're going to. But at no point do we actually get beyond 20 minutes because we don't necessarily need 20 minutes. But I want you to focus on the amount of intensity in minutes as it goes up and then it goes down, goes up and then it goes down. Every 3 weeks there's a change in the intensity, and that's what I want you to kind of see there. Practice plan. Over the course of the season, the practice must be adjusted and periodized so that the athletes actually have a chance to recover. And if you take a look at the bottom there, you can see how each segment is broken down into minor segments. In other words, the drills, which typically are 30 minutes, and we sometimes call that the warm-up, but we specifically say drills to the athletes so they buy into the concept of doing a 10-minute warm-up and then having a sport-specific actual training right after they do the general training. Now the general training, of course, is going to be tumbling, jogging, skipping, all of those things that are moving the body around, and then after the body is warmed up, blood's flowing a little bit faster, you're breathing a little bit harder, you're sweating, that's when you actually would do the sport-specific drilling, which encompasses the wrestling. The next 30-minute segment, again, each 30-minute segment is broken down into minor segments. So skill 1, in this sense, we would actually be teaching skills, have a little bit of a break, and then you would teach another skill. The last 30-minute segment, this is where we would be wrestling live, and we break it down, and it depends. Everything on here can be adjusted, but it depends on where you are in the season. Typically, we'll do 10 minutes on the feet, 10 minutes in parterre, and if we have time, we'll strength and condition for about 5 minutes. It depends on which tournament you're going to, because you can adjust it. It could be 8 minutes on the feet and 2 minutes parterre, or it could be vice versa. It could be 2 minutes on the feet and 8 minutes in parterre. Again, we're trying to have variety in every single practice, and all of the practices are geared towards peaking the athletes per the tournaments. Warm-ups. You can get a lot out of the warm-ups, and we just have four of the warm-ups that we generally use written down here. Again, we're always trying to stimulate and motivate the athletes to train, and because our training system is a year-round program, we want to keep the athletes into the practices. And what I found over time is when you give them a challenge, athletes will step up to the challenge. In this sense, because the warm-ups are actually different and they're stimulating and they're taxing, the athletes kind of buy into it. But again, you're adding variety into each practice just by changing the warm-up, just by wrestling 2 minutes on the feet versus 10 minutes, and then you can always switch those things up. When you do that over the course of the training year and over the course of the training career, athletes stay motivated and they stay stimulated to train. Competitions. Overtime School of Wrestling is going to attend all of the listed competitions below. Essentially, how our high performance training is geared towards is state tournaments and national tournaments. But what I want you to focus on is the parentheses. If you look at the October through July, that is essentially 9 months of competitions. Of course, there's 12 months in a year, so, for most of the year, the athletes are competing and or training. We actually start our training in August with the leg riding camp, and we're going to discuss that in a little bit. But the reason why I'm emphasizing, the month-to-month competitions in the training is because it's a long season. So we have to have a high-performance training system to keep the athletes invigorated over the course of the season, stimulated over the course of the season, and motivated to train. So we have to vary the practices, and we have to periodize the training to keep the athletes around. Of course, this isn't just for 1 year. You're talking about the athlete's career. Leg riding camp. We typically start the leg riding camp each August, and this is featuring Ed Geezy. Of course, he's been in overtime for 7 years, and he is a veteran in the sense that he's done a lot of things above and beyond what a lot of other coaches have done nationally at the college level and at the high school level. And we like to point that out because it's important for the athletes to know that we have done it. And of course, he's been a champion at a lot of different levels, at the international level, at the collegiate level, and at the high school level. And how you can get buy-in sometimes from athletes is, I did it this way and you can also do it this way. Of course, every coach isn't going to have these credentials, but it doesn't hurt when we have these type of people on our staff that have been there and they've done that, and that sometimes is able to get buy-in from the athletes. Tour de Force is another one of the camps that we have. In the past, we've held this each October and each April. Going forward, because we're actually expanding the overtime satellites into different colleges across Illinois, we will likely either double and or triple that number. And what the Tour de Force camp is, it's an all-star camp featuring the best Illinois athletes, the best overtime athletes, and the best athletes in the nation. We essentially send out invitations to some of the top wrestlers all across the state and all across the nation, and we bring them in to get our athletes better, get Team Illinois better, and of course the athletes that come from across the nation, they actually can become better too. The end. That is the end of the presentation. What we would like every one of the coaches to do is always sort of, point out that we can find any information that we need about Overtime School of Wrestling on our Facebook page, on our YouTube page, and our Twitter page. And we also have a website, overtimewrestling.com. If you would like any of your questions answered regarding this topics in this slideshow, you can always reach me at sgillespie@overtimewrestling.com. Thank you.